prosperity of Nigeria. Amen.
Distinguished senators, please take your seats. Distinguished senators, please take your seats. Minority Whip, please take your seat. Minority Whip, please take your seat. Minority Whip, please take your seat. Distinguished Senator Danjuma Goje, please take your seat.
Leader, please sit down. Order.
Distinguished Senator Danjuma Goje, please take your seat. Senator Danjuma Goje, please take your seat. Senator Shehu Marafa Garba, please take your seat. Senator Azam, thank you for taking your seat. Senator Akume, the great Federalist, please take your seat. Senator Misao, please stop disturbing the minority leader. Senator Misao, unless you want to defect.
What is the problem?
Senator Buka Ibrahim.
Senator
Miso. Okay. Come on, act for me today. Senator Aliyu, please take your seat. Senator Ukuyi, please take your seat. Senator Akume, the great Federalist from the greatest university of Nigeria, please take your seat. Senator Miso, take your seat. from Ebonyi State. Thank you for taking your seat. Senator Shehu Sani, please stop disturbing Senator Akume. Senator Shehu Sani, please stop disturbing Senator Akume. Who is that?
Thank you, Chief Whip. Votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 19 July 2016. 207, 208, 209, 210, 211, 212. Senator Abdullahi Adamu, former governor, former chairman, Governors Forum, Sekiyaki, President Nasarawa West.
Current Senator, thank you. Mr. President, I am
former BOT chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I am Senator Abdullahi Adamu, and I represent Nasarawa West Senatorial District. I rise to move the motion for the adoption of the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, the 19th July, year 2016. I so move.
Okay. Senator Sam Egu.
Mr. President, I remain Dr. Sam, Senator Egu, representing Ebonyi North. I move that the vote and proceedings of I stand up to second the motion that the vote and proceedings of Tuesday, 19th July 2016 be approved. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 19 July 2016 hereby approved, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Votes and proceedings of Tuesday, 19 July 2016 is hereby approved. Announcements. The inauguration of the Senate Joint Committee of Gas Appropriation, Finance and Upstream investigating the effective implementation of the NNPC Joint Venture Cash Coordination will hold after plenary today at 2 p.m. in Conference Room 231. All members, please attend. Signed, Senator Albert Bassi, Chairman, Joint Committee. Your Excellency, Senate President, letter of Senator Ovio Moagege. Your Excellency, you will recall that the Senate did approve a motion on Wednesday, March 16th, 2017, the passage of the great to the great beyond of Delta State First Executive Governor and Distinguished Senator Orogun Felix Ibu. The Senate, while praising Ibu's life of selfless public service, also set up a delegation headed by the Deputy Senate President, Senator Ekeke Marudu, to fully participate in the burial of the other statesman. I write now to humbly notify Your Excellency that the Ibu family has fixed the burial of this great leader of our people to hold on August the 3rd, 2016 at Agbaratown, Gali North Local Government Area in Delta State. This is for Your Excellency kind attention and further action. Signed, Senator Oviomo Agege. I wish to acknowledge the presence of members of the Arts Education Students Association, Adekunle Ajasi University Chapter, Akungwe Akoko, Ondo State, members of the student representative of Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto State, members of Liberty Chambers, Faculty of Law, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, Kaduna State, who are all in the gallery to observe Senate proceedings. I wish them a fruitful observation of the Senate proceedings. Please sit down. Also wish to announce on the birthdays at past 17th of July, Senator Suleiman Nkwi, and on the 18th of July, Senator Gilbert Naji. On behalf of your colleagues, we wish you all belated happy birthday, many more years of prosperity and good health. Since I also joined Senator James Manager, 7th of July, we congratulate you and wish you a happy birthday in arrears and many more years in your service to the great people of Delta and to Nigeria at home. Petitions. Leader of the Senate. Point of order, Senator Babaka Gabai.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I want to come under Order 42 and 52.
Read it.
Mr. President, I seek your permission to read. Order 42 says, that is, the matter of discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. Then Order 52, Mr. President, sir. Notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of a motion or in respect of any other proceeding for which notice is required, except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators present. So, Mr.
Yeah, go ahead and give us just a brief intro, then I'll take it from there.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name remains Senator Babaka Bashir Garbe. I represent Borno Central Senatorial District. Specifically on Monday, a delegation was led by no less a person than His Excellency the Senate President on a condolence visit to Borno State. We used that opportunity to pay a visit to IDP camps because of the issue of malnutrition in the IDP camps in Borno State, which has gone viral in the international media. So His Excellency the Senate President and members of the delegation paid a visit to the IDP camps. We were able to see things for ourselves in order to confirm the veracity of the stories and the news going on in the international media.
Okay, distinguished colleagues, by virtue of our rules, we need the Senator Babaka did take this matter up with me while we were in Borno State, that there was need for us to bring this matter that have become both not only local and international major issue on the issue of malnutrition in the IDP camps. And by rules, we must seek the leave of our colleagues to take it, both as come under 42 and 52. So I'll put the question, those in favor that we take this, to say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Babaka, you can go ahead.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present this very important motion that affects the lives of the entire northeastern part of the country and also Borno State in particular. Mr. President, I would like to read the motion as follows. Move the motion as follows. The Senate notes with utter dismay the recent joint UN assessment report released in June 2016 by the International Medical Aid Agency, MSF, also called Doctors Without Borders, on how hundreds of Nigerians die daily in internally displaced persons camps. The Senate is appalled by the reported figure that an estimated, Mr. President, I need your protection. The Senate is appalled by the reported figure that an estimated 485,822 cases of severe acute malnutrition cases of children under 5 years and pregnant women in the IDP camps, and 128 of these children die every day in the camp, meaning 5 children die every hour. The Senate is worried that the organization, in a statement signed by its head of mission, Nigeria, described the situation as a catastrophic humanitarian emergency. It says that 550,000 people face severe food shortages and require immediate food assistance. The Senate is aware that these severe food shortages are directly linked to the inability of farmers in the affected region to access or cultivate their farms in the last 3 years. The inadequate access to relief materials and the need to get more institutions involved in the provision and distribution of the needed relief materials to the people in the IDP camps. The Senate is disturbed that from January to May 2016, UNICEF has admitted and treated 2,530 children in Borno State for acute malnutrition, with a total of 47,423 children from Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe were treated of acute malnutrition under the same period. The Senate is aware that to mitigate the sufferings in the northeast of the country, the National Assembly appropriated in the 2016 budget the sum of 10 billion naira under the service-wide board for relocation and resettlement of internally displaced persons nationwide. The Senate is worried that the successes that we are making with the military is now being blighted by our lack of management of the success by taking care of the liberated population. The Senate observes that the report had indicated that it will take just about $349 million to adequately provide the affected population with basic living conditions that support life for at least 3 months. The Senate calls on the private sector and other donor agencies to rally around government efforts to help provide succor to our brothers and sisters who are suffering in rather dehumanizing environment. Accordingly, the Senate resolves to urge the federal government through the Ministry of Finance to immediately release necessary funds to immediately arrest this developing situation by freeing up a strategic framework for the release and distribution of monies from the service-wide vote appropriated for IDPs in the 2016 budget. Direct the Senate Committee on Special Duties, States and Local Governments to carry out a fact-finding visit to the troubled states of Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe states to find out the challenges of the IDPs. Urge the federal government to coordinate immediate fundraising with the private sector to sustainably ensure that no one more Nigerian child or woman dies of malnutrition irrespective of their situation. Commend the state governments in the affected states of Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe, as well as the host states of Gombe, Bauchi, Taraba, for their efforts so far in accommodating the feeding of the IDPs. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I would like to call on my colleagues to kindly support this motion. This is a motion on an issue that affects the lives of some of the federating units of Nigeria. Where there is an issue that affects a certain federation units of Nigeria, it affects all the other federation units, because we are living in a cosmopolitan environment. Because of that, I would like to call on people on this side and the other side to kindly support this motion. Thank you very much, sir.
Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I am Mohamed Alim Dume, representing Borno South. Thank you, sir. Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity, and also to thank you for the visit which I was part of, that we went to one of the camps where the malnourished children are being taken care of, and you have seen things for yourself. But, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I want you to please listen to me so that I present to you facts of, just graphic facts of the situation, the terrible situation we find ourselves in Borno State. The Senate President and few of us that have been to Borno State, or maybe Maiduguri at first, must have seen the situation that we are in Borno State. Honestly, distinguished colleagues, it's very, very serious, and it will be embarrassing if we don't really do something now. You have observed that international organizations like UNICEF and UN, Red Cross, who are there on ground, have seen the situation and have alerted the appropriate authorities. But up to now, nothing has been done. And time is not on our side, especially with the issues relating to small and helpless children that are malnourished, that need to be given proper and immediate attention. If not, a child that is facing malnutrition, if not taken care of immediately, you will grow up as a disabled person, and that would be a further burden to our society. And let me remind us again that at one time, we have 27 local governments in Borno State. At one time, 22 of these local governments were completely taken over by Boko Haram. And all the local governments, about 24 local governments, were residing in Borno. In fact, even our emirs, the 5 emirs, were residing in Borno until recent. And these statistics that you see of IDPs in various camps represents only 8% of the displaced persons. The other 92% are living with communities within them. And you know that Borno State is a poor state comparatively. And when you have poor people living on poor people, they all become, very poor people. If you have 9, you are able to take care of your few family, and you have relatives that they have nowhere to go, and you have to accommodate them, then it means the other person, even the host, becomes a displaced person. We have cried out severally. Although there are some effort, but these efforts are not enough. I was thinking that we brought a motion last time to highlight, and this Senate generously and emotionally even supported our motion and approved that certain money should be immediately released to the various states. Up to now, these monies have not been released. And let me also say here that the state government and the local government is totally incapacitated and handicapped. And I give you an example. Last month, the allocation that went to Borno State was less than, slightly over 2 billion. And the salaries that Borno State government have to pay monthly is 2.6 billion. So the state government have to take from what they call the local government stabilization fund to top up to pay the salaries. So you can see that with about 2 million IDPs that are scattered or are in Maiduguri, it becomes impossible for the state to be able to cope. There is therefore the need, not only for the federal government to really step up what they need to do in order to avoid these embarrassing situations, but other agencies, international donors, will have to come in. And how do we do that? We need your help, distinguished colleagues, in order to see what we can do about the situation we find ourselves. I really want to commend, the Senate President was with us. We went to one of the camps where the children, malnourished children, are being taken care of. That is from, Mr. Senate President, that is from only one local government. That is from Bama. The Bama children that we met in a particular camp that were taken care of, there is progress, visible progress, but the state finance is not adequate at all. It's not adequate enough to take care of this problem. I therefore want this Senate to help us cry out more, to help us do something, because the situation is getting out of hand. I don't know whether some of you are following the international donor agencies that are there on ground are now crying out. It will be a national embarrassment. And the situation on ground, I must confess, the UN and UNICEF have said it because they are operating internationally. The situation is in Borno, if something is not done urgently, will be, God forbid, be worse than the situation people found themselves in Darfur of Sudan and Juba. And we really need to do something. So, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this motion is very straightforward. I beg you to support the prayers that we make, we presented in the motion, so that something can urgently be done to take care of this, particularly children, and also support the state government and get people on ground to address this very serious problem. Thank you very much for supporting this motion.
Distinguished colleagues, this is a very straightforward so I think the best to go straight to the prayers so that we can but we need somebody, you have already seconded the motion. So we go straight to the prayers. Prayer 1 is to urge the federal government through the Ministry of Finance to immediately release necessary funds to immediately arrest this development embarrassment by freeing up a strategic framework for the release and distribution of monies from several votes appropriated for IDPs in the 2016 budget. Those in favor of prayer 1 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, direct the Senate Committee on Special Duties, States and Local Governments to carry out a fact-finding visit to the troubled states of Adamawa, Borno and Yobe to find out the challenges of the IDPs. Those in favor of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And prayer 3, urge the federal government to coordinate immediate fundraising with the private sector to sustainably ensure that no one more Nigerian child or woman dies of malnutrition. Those in favor of prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Any additional prayer? Additional prayer. Who's that? Senator Yusuf here?
Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues. The prayer I want to add is that there is already the Victim Support Fund already raised for the purpose of taking care of the IDPs. So I think we should add that Victim Support Fund should immediately be released, to take care of this disaster that is facing us. I think we should add that in our prayers.
Are you saying,
that there is support victims fund.
Distinguished colleagues, please, so that we can hear what's
what I said, there is victims support fund already raised during the tenure of the former president, which I think under the chairmanship of General T. White and Juma. I think the victim support fund should immediately be released or applied to take care of this impending, disaster that is facing us.
Any seconder?
Seconded.
Yes, Senator, hello.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Mohammed Adamaleru. I rise to support the motion heavily moved by my brother that the Victim Support Fund should be released immediately to avert the humanitarian crisis in Borno State.
Distinguished colleagues, the additional prayer that the Victim Support Fund should be released immediately to address the present malnutrition situation in Borno. Those in favor of the additional prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Additional prayer, Senator Wakil.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, my name is Senator of the Federal Republic, Malam Wakili, representing Bauchi South. My additional prayer goes as this. While commending President Muhammadu Buhari for all his efforts to ameliorate the problems of the Northeast, this distinguished Senate urged him to, as soon as practicable, undertake a personal visit to such camps. He was there, no? Huh? In order for him to see for himself the real situation on ground.
Distinguished colleagues, I want to thank Senator Babakar Kabai for this motion. Distinguished colleagues, I had the opportunity to visit the camp and see for myself. Distinguished colleagues, distinguished colleagues, this motion it's a very important one. It's the experience of us visiting to see the level of suffering, the loss of lives and the difficult situations to children and women particularly. And I believe as a nation like ours, we must be seen definitely to be tackling this kind of thing head on. I don't think it reflects on us as a nation, and I believe that we must do our best. And that is why I would like us here at the Senate to play our own role in ensuring that funds are released and made available. The good side of the story is that it is the success of the military that has made it possible for a lot of these children before to be able to be freed. And now we must address this issue of malnutrition. We must commend the government of Borno State for the efforts that they have done in providing that. But we must ensure and address the federal government to find the money and provide so that we can begin to address this. And the committee that we have charged with the responsibility should kindly also follow up to see and ensure that the resolutions that we have passed today are being implemented. And whatever pledges that have been made by the private sector to some of the funds, particularly the Victim Support Fund, the individuals that have made these pledges should go and redeem their pledges so that money can be made available to a lot of our children. And I think this is a matter that we should all take very seriously. I thank you for that. Leader of the Senate, I think there were, I think there were a couple of petitions that skipped. Petitions, Senator Sonny Ngokuch.
Mr. President, I wish to present a petition for one of my constituents whose salary was suspended for more than 21 months and is not seeking any judicial remedy.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, come on. The petition is referred to ethics and privileges and back in 2 weeks. Point of order, Senator Jari.
Mr. President, I come under order 43, and if I have your permission,
go ahead.
sorry, by the indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the President of the Senate, a senator may make a personal explanation, although there may be no question before the Senate, but no controversial matter may be brought forward
Senator Derek, could you please sit down? Distinguished senators. Distinguished senator, there's no way we can run to this chamber with this kind of noise at the background. Okay, let us please conduct ourselves in a manner that is expected of us. Senator Obina. Not you, no, Senator Obina. We are waiting for you to go back to your seat so we can continue. Thank you, Senator Obina. Senator Dade.
Thank you, Mr. Senate President, distinguished colleagues. I come under Order 43 by the indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the President of the Senate. A senator may make a personal explanation, although there may be no question before the Senate. But no controversial matter may be. The terms of the proposed statement shall be submitted in detail to the President of the Senate when his leave to make it short, Mr. President. That will be a permission, I'll continue.
Yes, go ahead, yeah.
Mr. President, distinguished ladies, distinguished colleagues, I stand here on a very sad note to notify colleagues and this hallowed chamber on the unfortunate killing of my paramount monarch in the name person of Lazarus Agai, who until his death was the chairman of the Council of Chief of Bokos Local Government, one of the longest living monarch, who was killed by unknown gunmen on Monday at about 3 p.m. Himself and 3 others. The monarch was just returning from his farm, Mr. President, and he was attacked. Even when he tried to escape, he was killed. And this is the fact of this unfortunate occurrence in the same local government. In the past, the chief of Kwatas was killed in his house. 3 weeks ago, the Sub-Mangunato on his way home was killed in a similar manner. The frequency is becoming so high. Mr. President, my prayers are that we observe 1 minute silence in honor of this man who lived and championed peace in that community. In one of the last meetings of the Peace Committee, he said even if it means him dying for peace, that the local government will remain united and indivisible. Lo and behold, he served like a prophet of doom. The very thing he championed, he ended up dying for. And to appeal, Mr. President, to the IG and the other security agencies to step up their enforcement, and lastly, that a powerful delegation to visit Plateau and condole the government and people of Plateau State. May the gentle soul of this great monarch rest in perfect peace.
Distinguished colleagues, now with our rules, Senator Jared did approach me on this issue that he wanted to come on a personal explanation. As we all heard, the frequency of these kind of killings are getting too much. I believe that the security agents need to really step up and put an end to these cases. And this should not be a case, unfortunately, of the life of His Royal Highness. They must get the culprits and they must be dealt with. And I think the responsibility of the IG and all the security agents to begin to address this. We cannot continue as a society where we have this kind of killings of people returning from their farms or going to their farms. We must put an end to this. And we all accept our condolence on behalf of the Senate to the Royal Highness family, and wish pass our condolence to the people of Plateau and the government of Plateau State. And distinguished colleagues, if you can just stand and rise 1 minute silence for the person of which His Royal Highness Lazarus Agai. May his genitals to rest in perfect peace. Amen. Leader of the Senate. Point of order, Senator Muwara.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I stand on the same order 43, which is a personal explanation, with the indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the President of the Senate. A senator may make a personal explanation, although there have been no question before the Senate, but no controversial matter may be brought forward, nor may debate arise upon the explanation. The terms of the proposed statement shall be submitted in details to the President of the Senate when his leave to make same is sought. Mr. President, I have submitted same to you, and this is not a controversial matter. It is just to intimate senators that in Obafemi Awolowo University, within my senatorial district, at a point in time not too long ago, the NASU and SANU, National Association of Senior Staff Student Employees, were on strike, and it was really due to welfare related. However, the school was closed because it's always better even for ASU to strike. When it comes to NASU and SANU, the school is completely shut down. Services, it borders on hygiene and sanitation, security, power supply, and a lot of other things. The issue of the vice chancellorship now came into being, and the governing council is no longer in place. As I'm talking to you, the students have been at home for over 100 days and have engaged the leadership of the Senate and the Minister of Education, and there is a directive that the Senate of the OAU, Obafemi Awolowo University, should sit with a view to appointing the acting VC so as to ensure the resumption of studies of the students. After that, all other issues will arise. This is just to intimate the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria of efforts by the leadership and are liaising with the Minister of Education. In conclusion, Mr. President, sir, distinguished senators, like I said, this is to intimate Senate about this matter and to say that we will just keep working with the Ministry of Education to ensure a conclusion of the process. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As in line with the rules, Senator Mora wanted to bring this to the attention of the Senate, which he has done. Noted. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the first business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Auditor General of the Federation on the audited accounts of some federal government parastatals in accordance with Section 85(3) of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, these reports have been scheduled on the order paper in compliance with Section 85(2) and 3, which states inter alia that each House shall cause the reports to be considered by a committee of the National Assembly responsible for public accounts. Mr. President, with your permission, I therefore wish to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report. I so move.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to support the motion moved by the leader that we consider the report that have been brought forward. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive the report of the Auditor General of the Federation on the audited accounts of some federal government parastatals in accordance with Section 85(3) of the Constitution for the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader, you can lay the report. The report will be referred to Committee on Public Accounts for further legislative action and report back in 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
President, as usual, the PDP are trying to distract this government. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the second business of the day is the presentation of the report of the Committee on Police Affairs on the Crime and Criminal Tracking System Bill 2016. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Abu Ibrahim, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
Senator Abu Ibrahim.
Mr. President, sir, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Abu Ibrahim, representing Katsina South. I stand to move that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Police Affairs of the Crime and the Criminal Tracking System Bill 2016. So I move.
Senator Gilbert Naji.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Gilbert Naji, representing Enugu East Senatorial District. Mr. President, I move that the Senate will receive the report of the Committee on Police Affairs and Crimes.
You second.
Mr. President, I hereby rise to second the motion ably moved by the Chairman, Senate Committee on Police, that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Police Affairs on the Crime and Criminal Tracking System Bill 2016. I so second, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Police Affairs on the Crime and Criminal Tracking System Bill 2016 SB3, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Abu Ibrahim can kindly lay the report. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues. The third business of the day is also a presentation of a report of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions in respect of petition from one engineer Charles Mbawi against the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports over payment reversal of 31,666,666 naira 66 kobo. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Samuel Anyao, the chairman of the committee, to move for the Senate to receive the report.
Senator Anyao.
Mr. President, very distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Samuel Anyao. I represent Imo East in Imo State. Mr. President, I don't know if I crave the indulgence of Mr. President, Commission, and the Senate to be able to present the three reports at the same time before want of time, if you so wish, Mr. President.
Leader, do you want to move the motion for the three reports? Yes.
That will be better, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I crave your indulgence that we put the three reports together by the ethics and therefore I still want to move that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petition in respect of a petition from Lawrite Associates against the payment of Parks and Recreation Federal Capital Territory Administration FCT for alleged unlawful conversion and reallocation of a green area, that's a stroke park, not at Guzape, and also want this Senate to also receive yes. Just a minute, Mr. President, because the orders is mixed up here as well. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, and that this Senate do receive the report of the same committee on a petition from one Mr. Akinme Akini against National Insurance Commission, NICOM, and the final report from Lawright Associates against Department of Parks, Recreation and Federal Capital Territory for alleged unlawful conversion on reallocation of green area at Guzape. I so move.
Senator Samuel. Senator Samuel, can you? Senator Samuel is. Senator Samuel is to move the motion. Go ahead, Senator Samuel.
President.
Okay. You want to combine it first before we move the motion? All right, go ahead. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion move that we take the three motions together for the laying of reports at the same time. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Samayan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Samayan. I move that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions in respect of a petition from Engineer Charles Ambaye against the Federal Minister of Youth and Sports over the payment reversal of 31,666,666 naira 66 kobo. Again, I do move that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions in respect of a petition from Mr. Akini against National Insurance Commission, NICOM. I also move that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions in respect of a petition by Lawright Associates against the Department of Parks and Recreation, Federal Capital Territory Administration for alleged unlawful conversion and reallocation of a green area park plot at Guzape, Abuja. I so move.
Senator Kabiga.
Thank you, Mr. President. I support the motion ably moved by, Mr. Chairman, I'm Senator Kabiru Gaya from Kano South. I support the motion ably moved by the Chairman Ethics Committee, Senator Samuel Anyau, on all the three petitions, petition 3, 4, and 5.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive the report on the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petition in respect of petition of Engineer Charles Ambaye against the Federal Minister of Youth and Sports over payment reversal of 31,666,666 naira 66 kobo. A report of the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petition in respect of petition from Mr. Akini against National Insurance Commission, and a report in respect of a petition by Lawright Associates against the Department of Parks and Recreation, Federal Capital Territory, FCTA, for alleged unlawful conversion and reallocation of a green area park place in Guzape, Abuja. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Samayo, come and lay the reports first. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the next order of the day.
Point of order.
Point of order, Chief Whip.
Mr. President, sir, my distinguished colleagues, it's with great sorrow that I must point our attention to Order 56 about the behavior of senators in the Senate. Over and over and over again, we have violated 5 of our own rules repeatedly this morning. So many senators are sitting in the wrong place. So many senators are walking everywhere. So many senators are not conversing undertones. And quite frankly, on a day when we are being televised, I'm sure we respect this chamber enough to respect our own rules. I plead that we so do.
Point of order sustained. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the next order of the day is supposed to be the briefing by the Minister of Finance on the monetary and fiscal policies adopted to salvage the current economic situation. Unfortunately, we just got an information that the minister is stuck in the Federal Executive Council meeting and will not be here as she promised. In view of that, I want us to give some time and move to the next order on the other paper.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise with great sorrow to second the motion moved by the leader, because I recall at the last sitting it was the minister who gave us today, and I believe strongly that the minister ought to have considered the fact that she will be attending the Federal Executive Council today. But as it is, she has sent a message very late in the day to the Senate. I will not take it as disrespect to the Harrow chambers, but I will take it that it is an act of omission on our part. And I hope this will not repeat itself. I second the motion.
Very good. Distinguished colleagues, pose a question that will stand on that item. Those in favor that we do that say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, I think the comments of the minority leader are very, very pertinent, because even if you remember yesterday, some had raised that the fact that she picked today, she knew that whether she was going to be in council or not. But definitely we must take her before we go tomorrow, and unfailingly whether she comes here at the end of council, we're still here, or tomorrow unfailingly, because this the governor of Central Bank herself made an effort to be here on Tuesday, and we postponed this the first time because of the Minister of Finance, and I hope that she will make it to today, or she'll be here tomorrow, because these are issues that are very important to Nigerians to understand where is the way we're going forward. So unfailingly, she must be here by tomorrow at the latest. She cannot make it at the end of council today. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. The next order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Federal Capital Territory Appropriation Bill. Distinguished colleagues, you will recall that the report of the committee was laid on Thursday, 23rd July. I therefore move, Mr. President, that you call on the chairman of the committee to move the motion for the Senate to resolve. I therefore move the motion that we resolve into Committee of Supply to consider the report. I so move.
Leader, what happened to the report on the ambassador? Or what? You want to reorder?
Mr. President, it's because of our program and in view of the fact that it's appropriation of FCT, in order of priority, we'll take that of ambassadorial after this one. But let's follow the order. I yield. Now, Mr. President, if it is the opinion of the Senate that we take it according to the order, yes, and with the promise that we'll take the appropriation committee, FCT budget before the close of the day, then we continue. Yes. But even if we get to that time of 2 o'clock, we have to sit back and take.
Distinguished colleague, I think what the leader is saying, I think there are 2 reports here that are time-bound. Out of the 4 here, there are 2 that are time-bound. That is the issue to do with the ambassadorial nominees and the issue to do with the FCT budget. So what I think I will suggest your motion should be is for us to take the ambassadorial nominee, take the budget, then take environment, and then take land transport. I think that is what the motion to reorder it, because those 2 are time-bound. Yeah? Okay, so move the motion so that minority leader can second, and then we'll put the question.
If you want me to remove the motion, I'll do. But the reordering of the order paper is at my discretion. But because
I don't want to take your powers. If you say.
I yield, Mr. President. I therefore beg and move the motion that. So let's take it as, Mr. President, let me get this straight. Are you saying we should take the order paper as it is, or as I read?
What I'm saying is that there are 2 items that are time-bound. That is the foreign affairs and the FCT budget. So what I'm saying that we take foreign affairs, take FCT budget, then take environment, then take land transport. In that order, yeah.
Now that we reorder the order paper to take the report on the Committee on Foreign Affairs, then FCT and environment. I so move.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion moved by the leader, considering some of his powers, that we reorder the order paper to accommodate those items in this order. I so second.
The distinguished colleagues, those in favor of us only as so proposed by the leader, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, for reducing my powers. The second order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Foreign Affairs on the alleged irregularities and lopsidedness of the list of 47 ambassadorial nominees. Distinguished senators, you will recall that the report of the committee was laid yesterday, Tuesday, 19th July 2016. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Monsurat Alaja Sumoni to move the motion for the Senate to consider this report.
Senator Sumonu. Okay, Senator Shosani. The motion.
I stand as Comrade Senator Shosani to move so as to read the report of the investigative hearing on the alleged irregularities and lopsidedness of the list of 47 career ambassadorial nominees. I will.
Senator Anduba.
Mr. President, most distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Anduba, representing Anambra South. I second that the Senate do consider the report of the Committee on Foreign Affairs on the alleged irregularities and lopsidedness of the list of 47 career ambassadorial nominee. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Foreign Affairs on the alleged irregularity and lopsidedness of the list of 47 career ambassadorial nominees, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Shosani.
I will simply move to a brief introduction and then the findings and recommendations so as to save the time of the Senate. The release of the long-awaited list of the ambassadorial nominees' career provoked concerns from some individuals and their representatives for perceived marginalization in the exercise. The list was presented to the Senate on Wednesday, 8th of June 2016, 1 year into the life of this administration. And I will simply move to 4.1, which is the submission by a secretary to the government of the Federation who was invited by the committee. According to the submission received on 24th of June 2016, the SGF noted that the nominees were carefully selected on the basis of the following. One is federal character. Second is seniority. Third is gender consideration. Fourth is specialist relevance. Fifth is a minimum of 30 months of service before retirement. Sixth is competence. The submission also explained that offers from Bayelsa, Ebonyi, Ondo, and Plateau State were not featured in the list because officers from this state did not meet the criteria for appointment. I will move to specific concerns on the nominations. The committee received specific complaints on the nomination affecting the following states. Bayelsa, 5.0. Page 5. 5.0. The committee received specific complaints on the nomination affecting the following states. Bayelsa. From the presentations, the candidate from Bayelsa did not meet all the laid down criteria for the selection. Benue. The complainant from Benue, a male foreign service officer with 2 years, 2 months remaining period of service, was dropped on gender consideration for the next most senior officer, a female, who has 2 years, 5 months, 29 months remaining period of service. Kogi State. From the records, one of the 2 senior officers with the same service records, except for the slight difference in the remaining period of service, on the part of the not selected, who is leaving 15 days earlier before retirement, was dropped in favor of one of the selected for the nomination. Ondo State. None of the 3 senior officers from the state satisfy all the criteria for selection. Osun State. The officer nominated complied with the set down criteria for the selection, while the most senior officer, with only 12 months remaining period of service before retirement, was dropped for lack of adequate period of service. Plateau State. None of the officers satisfy all the requirements for selection. Taraba State. The officer selected for nomination has satisfied the set down criteria for nomination, and she is the most senior officer from the state. And we move to findings, which is 6.0. The 47 career ambassadorial nominees were carefully selected on the basis of federal character, seniority, gender consideration, specialist relevance, a minimum of 30 months period of service before retirement, and competence, except for a few that have between 18 to 29 months remaining period of service. 2. Officers from Bayelsa, Ebonyi, Ondo, Plateau, and other states not featured on the list did not meet the criteria approved for selection. 3. That the executive is working on the list of non-career ambassadorial nominees, which will make up for the states that were not represented in the current list. The list would accordingly balance the perceived lopsidedness. The Minister and SGF expressed strong will that Mr. President will ensure that each state of the Federation is represented in line with the principles of federal character. Number 4, that the complexities in the selection of the non-career ambassadors whose records are not readily available for scrutiny contributed to the submission of only the list of career ambassadorial nominees to the Senate instead of a combined list. Number 5, similarly, the late submission of the list of career nominees was attributed to the delay in the appointment of the principal officers of the President and the cabinet ministers, most of which came late into the year, which was 2015. Number 6, the list contains 12 women, which represent 40% of the 47 nominees, in line with the affirmative action on gender. Number 7, from August 2015 and January 2016, respectively, the non-career and career ambassadors at post were recalled by the present government. Nigerian missions across the globe have been operating without ambassadors, which makes it difficult for Nigeria to actualize its full potentials in global politics. Number 8, the presentation could not divulge certain information contained in the confidential files of the Foreign Service officers that were not considered for nomination. This was to respect the sanctity of the confidentiality in line with the contract between the employer and the employee. And then we go to recommendations, which is in page 7. 1, it is recommended that the Senate should proceed with the screening and confirmation hearing of the 47 ambassadorial nominees with dispatch ahead of the submission of the second list of non-career ambassadorial nominees. The detailed screening will further address any concern that may arise. Number 2, the President should be advised to expedite action on the submission of the list of non-career nominees, which is expected to balance the perceived lopsidedness in the nomination of the ambassadors. More so, in future nomination, the executive arm should be guided to see the logic of sustaining the previous practice of presenting to the Senate a combined list of both career and non-career nominees for confirmation. Number 3, the executive arm should be equally advised to promptly commence the process of the selection of all the nominees and other principal officers of the government for appointments ahead of confirmation by the Senate to avoid delays in governmental operations. Number 4, the government is advised to sustain the commendable compliance to the gender representation and balance in the remaining nomination and any other in the future, with a view to giving the female gender the desired sense of belonging. 5, the Senate and the executive arms of government should, as a matter of urgency, respectively, facilitate the screening and confirmation hearings of all the career and non-career ambassadorial nominees, as well as the process of posting to quickly fill the vacuum in all Nigerian missions abroad. 6, unless extremely necessary, the Senate should distance itself from doing anything that is capable of revealing some of the details contained in the confidential files of some of the eligible officers that were considered for nomination to guard against, that were not considered for nomination to guard against litigation. Conclusion. The committee, having all the petitions and concerns on the 47, the committee, having considered all the petitions and concerns on the 47 ambassadorial nominees under consideration by the Senate, concludes that the nominees were meticulously selected in line with due diligence. They should therefore be considered for screening and confirmation by the Senate. The committee expresses gratitude to the Senate for finding it worthy of handling this all-important assignment, which was conducted with all sense of responsibility and service to the nation. It is to be noted that members and staff of the Secretariat work tirelessly to ensure that the committee arrive at this report to assuage any agitation by Nigerians, as well as to promote justice and equity for the benefit of all. Thank you very much.
Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, my dear colleagues. I was one of those who stood when this list was first submitted to express that 3 people have brought petitions to me, and that's the danger about petitions. Sometimes the petitioners will not reveal the whole facts. I'm glad that the Senate has done its job, has looked at this, and I want to commend the committee for doing a good job to let us know some of the considerations that resulted in those senior people not being appointed in some states. And I'm glad that a committee that is bipartisan has said that our government has done a fantastic job of being fair to all. The only thing I would like to say, Mr. President, sir, is that 12 is not 40% or 47. So we have not done enough for the women. We must do more. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, Senator Polka Emmanuel is my name, Bayelsa Central. In the first place, I have to thank the committee for a good job done. In line with what the Chief Whip said, because of the disparity, some of us raised concern initially on these nominees. But let me quickly add, Mr. President, dear colleague. However, I want to put it on record that Bayelsa as a state has a grade level 16 officer in the Foreign Affairs Services. Beside that, Mr. President, dear colleagues, Bayelsa has an officer in NIA. And in conferring appointment, Nigerian intelligence agencies, in considering appointment for service in foreign affairs, if you pick a hole in the foreign office services, you consider officers from NIA. Let me not pretend that the powers of appointment is vested on the executive. That is true. Equally, there have been explanation on the pages of papers that the president is not tied by the Constitution to spread appointments across the states of the Federation. Wait. But it is very open in Section 14, Sub 3 of the 1999 Constitution, as amended, that every activity of government must reflect the different units constituting government. Mr. President, I believe, for fairness, if you are sharing 47 properties to your siblings or children, 47, to 36 children, sorry. it's only fair that one should go around the 36. While you can make do with 11 remaining, may do with 11 you are sharing to those favored. And that was our area of concern, Mr. President and dear colleagues. But I'm pleased to note that this committee in our findings agreed with those who raised concern initially that it's only fair that the federal character be adopted. And that is the more reason that the committee has advised strongly that the non-career list, which will come later, which we don't know when it will come, will attempt to address these injustices. So, Mr. President, dear colleagues, I don't want to put on record that these are the facts on ground. And so, like I mentioned earlier, it is the prerogative of the executive to make appointment, but we as representatives of the people must definitely ensure that fairness takes place. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, I hope the contributions, I think we should be fair to our committee. Petitions came in with certain allegations. The committee has done its report. So if we are contributing, it's either we're disputing any of that. But if those who are contributing, unless we are contributing to either question or comment on any of the findings of the committee, I think we're not on general issues particularly now. So if the contribution that we can make some progress, because there are about 6 states particularly that raised some observations. The committee has done their findings and told us these are their findings. So if anybody has any area of this, if not, let us go straight to do your recommendation. So please, if you are going to contribute, is to contribute on facts. And Minority Leader.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, as if you were preempting what I was going to say, I want to align myself with the Chief Whip and Senator Parker in commending the committee for a job well done. One of the recommendations of the committee is that action should be expedited to ensure that non-career ambassadors, at least the list is sent to us very soon, to compensate those states that are currently not accommodated. The other issue that Senator Parker mentioned, I want to urge the Committee on Foreign Affairs to look into it, to find out whether in reality senior officers could be considered from the other NIA agency for appointment as ambassadors. And if that can be done, it means that it is still not too late, because the power of appointment is with the President. And this Senate is ever ready to look at anything that is brought forward. But I want to say that this job is such a fantastic job done by the committee, and that even from what we have heard here, I'm satisfied that indeed a lot of considerations were taken into account before this was done. And I'm now wondering if it were possible for us to look at other appointments in the country like this, and then also come to the floor to debate. Because there are a lot of complaints out there that some of the appointments are lopsided and Nigerians are not happy. Maybe when the investigations are done and then the explanations are made, some of the stations that really do not seem to have a sense of belonging today, like the south-south part of Nigeria and the southeast, who were shut out from some of the, like the Nigerian Port Authority and other agencies, NNPC and so many other places. I believe strongly that if those things are brought to the fore and then committees, ad hoc committees like this are set up and investigated, we will be satisfied, or amendments could be done, or remediation could be done, or something could be done to ensure that Nigeria still remains very united. Because sometimes people are not well informed. And at the end of the day, rumors are out there that some sections are not being carried along. So I commend the committee for this. And Senator Parker, your recommendation will be looked into. And I'm very certain that at the end of the day, that
well, since everybody that has stood up has been commending the committee for a job well done, so we just go through to their recommendation. Recommendation 1. It is recommended that the Senate should proceed with the screening and confirmation of the 47 ambassadorial nominees. It is recommended. Could we make some progress? Recommendation 1. It is recommended that the Senate should proceed with the screening and confirmation of the 47 ambassadorial nominees with dispatch ahead of the submission of the second list of non-career ambassadorial nominees. The detailed screening will further address my concern and my rights. Those in favor of recommendation 1 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 2, the President should be advised to expedite action on the submission of lists of non-career nominees, which is expected to balance the perceived lopsidedness in nomination of ambassadors. More so in future nominations, the executive should be guided to see the logic of sustaining the previous practice of presenting to Senate a combined list of both career and non-career nominees for confirmation. Those in favor of recommendation 2 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 3, the executive arm should be equally advised to promptly commence the process of the selection of all nominees and other principal officers of government for appointments ahead of confirmation by Senate to avoid delays in governmental operations. Those in favor of recommendation 3 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 4, the government is advised to sustain the commendable compliance to gender representation and balance in the remaining nomination any other one in the future with a view to giving the female gender the desired sense of belonging. Those in favor of recommendation 4 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Recommendation 5. Recommendation 5, you can come under additional if you have any. Recommendation 5, the Senate and the executive arms of government should, as a matter of urgency, respectively, facilitate the screening and confirmation hearings of all the career and non-career nominees, as well as the process of posting to quickly fill the vacuum in all Nigerian commissions abroad. Those in favor of recommendation 5 say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Shosani, can you, recommendation 6, can you kindly just give us what the thinking of the committee here is, where you're limiting the issues?
In 5.
Hold on a second. 1 second, Senator DSP here.
The Senate and the executive arm of government should, as a matter of urgency, respectively facilitate the screening and confirmation hearing of all the career and non-career ambassadors. No career, they are not before us.
No, we facilitate.
Facilitate. So that no. What they say we should facilitate is the confirmation, not the bringing. They show we should facilitate the confirmation.
And they're talking to both arms.
Unless they have another document different from what I have, the sentence here is wrong. It doesn't convey the intention. They better redraft it.
No, facilitate.
Facilitate what?
To facilitate.
The Senate and the executive arm of government should, as a matter of urgency, respectively facilitate the screening and confirmation hearing of all the caretaker of all the career and non-career ambassadorial nominees, as well as the process of. You can't screen what's not before you.
The facilitation includes bringing the list.
Where is that now? Where is the when they bring it? Where
That
is
is the facilitation.
This leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think to resolve this, in view of what DSP said, we can add nomination, screening, and facilitate whatever it takes to facilitate.
Can you read this? Can you read it how you want? Read it.
The amendment will thus read: the Senate and the executive arm of government should, as a matter of urgency, respectfully facilitate the nomination, screening, and confirmation hearings of the career and non-career ambassadorial nominees, as well as the process of posting to quickly fill the vacuum in all Nigerian ambassadors. That is what should be added.
We have, distinguished colleagues, we have an amendment before us which distinguished colleagues, really honestly we're just playing with words here, and it's getting, well, the reaction is more than the net effect. I think if you permit, let us move on to item number 6. Item number 6, recommendation 6. Senator Sanisho, I was asking you, what was the thinking of the committee in coming out with this recommendation? Can you educate us?
Mr. President, this recommendation number 6 arises out of issues that are of personal discipline in the files of the individual officers. He is not listening to. Yes. There were officers that had this.
Secret, don't say they are releasing now.
I will.
Confidential.
These are secret files of the officers that are concerned. And I think it is going to be unfair and unjust for it to be a matter of public discourse. So what we are saying is that this issue should be treated as confidential. You don't start opening the files of.
Does that need to come as a recommendation just to brief us? Do you want to? I know what I'm ready. Do you still want to bring as a recommendation? I'll put it. Okay. Distinguished colleagues, I have to put a question. Unless extremely necessary, the Senate should distance itself from doing anything that is capable of revealing some of the details contained in the confidential files of some of the eligible officers that were not considered for nomination to guide against litigation. Those in favor of this recommendation 6 say aye. Those against say nay. The nays have it. Minority Leader.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I'm not taking you back, Mr. President, but remember that there was a slight amendment that was made in the recommendation 6, which was not reflected. If we pass the paper as it is now, it will be wrong. The Chief Whip has pointed out that the content of paragraph 6. The list contains 12 women, which represent 40% of the 47 nominees in line with the affirmation action on gender. And the chief will pointed out that the list thank you. Order. I'm saying that on the findings, if we pass the paper as it is now, we would have missed the point made by the chief when he pointed out that on findings number 6, that the list contains 12 women, which represents 40% of the 47 nominees in line with the affirmative action agenda. That 12 women out of 47 does not in any way represent 40%. There is actually something below 25%. And that I believe that...
Yeah, but the recommendation we have in recommendation 4 is advocating that there must be proper representation of female. It's not in any way saying that government has achieved that. It's saying that there must be proper balancing with a view to giving the female gender the desired sense of belonging. So I think that goes to confirm that there is not adequate representation of... I say we should correct the findings. Oh, okay, all right. The percentage, all right. So Secretary should take note of that. All right then, thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, the fourth order of the day is the consideration of the report of the Committee on Federal Capital Territory and the Federal Capital Territory Appropriation Bill 2016. Distinguished senators will record that the report of the committee was laid on Thursday, the 23rd day of July 2016. Mr. President will invite distinguished Senator Dino Malai.
Senator Dino Malai.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, may I rise to second the motion that this plenary should resolve into a committee of supplies to consider the FCT budget. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that we resolve into committee of supplies to consider the report say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate. Leader of the Senate, motion for Senator Dino to present it.
Mr. President and my distinguished colleagues, may I move that the Senate do invite distinguished Senator Dino Malai, Chairman of the committee, to move that for the consideration of the report.
Senator Chukwuka Utazi, Enugu North.
May I second the motion? My second day.
There's no motion.
You said what?
There's no motion yet. This has not moved.
Who has moved?
He has not moved yet.
Has not moved. Oh. I will ask me to.
Can you move the motion then?
Mr. Chairman, my respected colleagues, Dino Melaye, representing Kogi West Senatorial District. Mr. Chairman, I rise to move that the report of the Federal Capital Territory FCT Statutory Appropriation Bill 2016 be considered clause by clause. I so move.
Senator Otazi.
Mr. President, I am Senator Chukwuka Otaze, representing the good people of Enugu North Senatorial District of Enugu State. May I move that, may I second that the report on the Federal Capital Territory FCT Statutory Appropriation Bill 2016 be considered clause by clause. I so second.
Those in favor that the Senate do consider a report of the committee on FCT and the FCT Appropriation Bill 2016 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Mr. Chairman, my respected colleagues, I will just read the preamble and then, because we have an harmonized report with the House of Representatives, so I will just move to recommendations after the. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, page 2. You will recall that in line with the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, the FCT Statutory Appropriation Bill 2016 was read for the first time on Thursday, the 26th May 2016. In order to attend to the request of Mr. President to pass this important bill in record time, the Senate concluded debate on the second reading on Wednesday, the 1st of June 2016, and the bill was referred to the Committee on Federal Capital Territory, FCT, for further legislative action and to report back in 2 weeks. In line with Section 62, 88, 89, and 299 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999 as amended, the Senate Committee on FCT met with the Honorable Minister and other relevant officials of the Federal Capital Territory Administration, Federal Capital Development Administration, to deliberate on the subject matter and agreed on modalities to handle the exercise. Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, you may wish to note that the approved statutory appropriation for the year 2015 was 193,864,591,470 naira only, leaving a fiscal surplus of 604,408,500 only. However, at the end of December 2015, a total sum of 118,517,817,714 naira 49 kobo only accrued to the FCT administration, as against a sum of 193,864,591,470 naira appropriated. This shows 61% level of performance. Mr. Chairman, my colleagues, like I said, we have an harmonized report with the House of Representatives. I seek the indulgence of the chairman and my colleagues to go straight to recommendations. Please, page 13, 7.0. In view of the aforementioned, the committee recommends a sum of 241,445,285,470
470 naira only, with a surplus of 11,945,559 naira only as FCT statutory budget for 2016. From the projected revenue of 241,467,231,031 naira only, the sum of 52,982,280,360 naira only is for personnel costs. 34,388,260,833 naira only is for overhead costs, while the sum of 154,744,280 naira only is for capital project for the year 2016, with surplus of 11,945,550 naira only. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, in considering this budget, time is of essence due to the exigency of work, as the two committees have harmonized already. On behalf of the committee, I hereby present the recommendation for consideration and passage into law of the Federal Capital Territory Statutory Appropriation Bill 2016, and I use this opportunity to appreciate the leadership of the Senate and my respected colleagues in agreeing to expeditiously pass this budget. All respect. Thank you.
Any comments? If not, we'll go straight to Senator Adiola.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished honorable colleague, Senator Adiola Solomon Olamileko, representing Lagos West Senatorial District, the largest senatorial district in Nigeria. Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, my comment on this report is the idea behind the modalities and ways we attend to the budget of these parastatals and the ministry. And we all agree that bulk of the government activities takes place in these parastatals and these agencies of the government. Part of my concern, and year in, year out, I've always mentioned this, the IGR of these agencies, as it is today, in the submission of the chairman, it was 193 billion naira budget in 2015. It was 118 billion budget, a 61% budget performance. But the details of this 2015 budget performance is not contained in this report. It's not just they mention it, they gloss through it, they mention to us that these are the percentage, but the details, what was the actual idea that was generated, how much was collected from the federal purse, and how will this expenditure be expended over the year? Because now the only power we have, yes, the committee is there to supervise, is this power of the purse. And these agencies are here now asking us to go ahead and give them 241 billion budget performance when the 2015 budget performance details are not contained in this report. I just draw the attention of the Senate to this, that it is only right and proper that we take pain, that we take time to review the 2015 budget very well, so that while passing the 2016, we can put these agencies on their toes and ensure that proper way of fund management should be adopted, because it's not enough for us, give us a report, we look at it, we pass it, off they go. So that's my own observation, sir. Thank you.
Chairman, maybe you want to respond to that. What are the issues on the revenue side of the...
Mr. Chairman and my colleagues, I'm sure you have given this responsibility of the oversight of this committee to the committee. And the committee have looked at all those in details, except if anyone is challenging the competence of the committee to oversight the FCT. These are issues for the committee. We have completely verified them, and that is why we have articulately highlighted them in this report. And if we have... Mr. Chairman, the end of this budget was about 2 weeks ago here. There were details that were not attached. And I want to say that want to say that Senator Solomon Olamileko was in the chamber that day. So if he had raised it when the NDC budget was passed, I would have known that he wanted that to be attached and I would attach it. But I want to announce to us that the details will be immediately communicated to his office after sitting. Thank you.
Senator
Yeah. Your Excellency, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, let me, on behalf of the people of the very good people of the FCT, thank you and thank the committee for ensuring that this budget will be expeditiously passed for the development and the benefit of the people of the FCT. As the State House of Assembly for the FCT, indeed we're doing what we're supposed to do and we're doing justice to ensure quick passage of the FCT budget. I want to also urge the FCT administration that as soon as this budget is passed, that they should begin quick implementation to be able to bring the democratic dividends to the people of the FCT. With these short words, Mr. President, I wish to thank my distinguished colleagues for doing justice to the budget of the FCT.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I am Senator Kabiru Gaya from Kano South, representing the people of Kano South. Mr. President, I want to commend the committee or even the ministry for bringing a bill this is going to be a hope for the people of FCT. The budget is showing 65% capital project and 35% recurrent. This is really a good budget that there is hope. We are trying to reduce our overhead expenditures to more of the capital projects. But I would also like to appeal that the FCT should put a lot of development within the city and at neighboring local government areas. I hope they will look seriously more into the issue of street lights in Abuja. Virtually most part of Abuja is dark, and I've seen they make provision for that. I hope the city will be more like a city than it was before. Thank you, Mr. President. I commend the budget. Thank you, the chairman of the committee.
Senator Bayo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Usman Bayero Nafada. I am from Gombe State and I represent the northern part of Gombe. I happen to be a member of this committee and I know the type of scrutiny we have done to this budget. We have examined this budget very well, but I want to say it again here, even though I have said it at the committee level, that we have passed the national budget, but the overheads of the national budget was much, much lower than the personnel. It was only about 10% of the personnel cost. But in this budget of FCT, if you look at it, Your Excellency, you will discover that the overhead budget is more than half of the personnel cost. That is on the high side. It's on the high side because in some units under the FCT, you can even discover that the overhead is even is much, much higher than the personnel cost. So next time they are doing this budget, because we don't have the luxury now to be tampering with the figures now because we are going on recess and they have to start their job, and the House of Representatives and this committee, we have done the same report. I don't think that there will be a need for harmonization committee. So next time they should look at this budget and try to reduce as much as possible the overhead of the FCT. That is my comment, Mr. Chairman.
Point of order, Mr. Gamble.
Mr. President, I rise on the authority of Order 95. May I read, please? Establishment and jurisdiction of committees. Order 95. 1. The membership of all committees shall not be less than 9 and not more than 13 senators. Mr. President, sir, I see from the report of this committee a staggering number of 25 senators in this committee. And I'm surprised that the rules of this hallowed chamber were not respected when members enlisted in this committee without bringing the Senate back on the very important subject of approving the budget for FCT. Mr. Chairman, I want you to rule on this matter so that the issue can be resolved for the future.
And these 8 have not signed for balance. 8 have not signed for
All those who have not signed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Usman Bairo. I actually agree with my elder brother here that the number of the membership is on the high side. But the subject we are discussing now, is the appropriation. That issue he has raised may come after we have come back from recess. But for now, what is before the Senate is the approval of the appropriation of the FCT. Mr. President.
Gamaliel came on a point of order. Your point of order is noted. Any other comments on the report itself? Yes, Senator Jubimba.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Senator Baroji Brain. I represent Kano North. Mr. President, I just stand to commend the good work that the Committee on the FCT did in dealing with the FCT appropriation for this year, appropriation bill for this year. I'm particularly impressed by the fact that the Senate Committee harmonized its position with that of the House. This is very good.
Very good.
This is very good. This is commendable.
It's commendable.
And I want to say that when we look at the normal way of processing appropriation bill in both chambers, at this stage of the processing of the FCT bill, just like the national, when we are dealing with the federal government appropriation bill, details are not normally brought together with the report. So I think what the committee has done is not a misnomer at all. It's not something that is abnormal. And for this reason, I think we should move forward by going to the next stage of the processing of this bill so that the FCT can have a budget. We can see how things are not going fine in FCT, no street light, no that, no this, probably because of lack of the passage of the budget. So I think we should not waste any minute in getting this bill passed so that things will go fine in FCT. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Aliu Sabi Abdullahi. I represent Niger North. I think I just want to perhaps comment on the issue of the overhead, which my elder brother here raised earlier. I think we need to understand the nature of the budget of the FCT. And when you come out and say that the FCT is filthy, is dirty, there are shanties, the street lights are not working, I don't know how else all of these issues can be addressed if not under the overhead. It is city management. And if you look at the heavy nature of the capital asset, it is very clear, Mr. Chairman and distinguished colleagues, that of course their overhead must be a little bit on the high side, away from the normal
government, what do they call it, because the issues involved in some quarters may actually even be looked at as maybe operating cost. So I think I don't want us to leave this impression that perhaps the aspect of their overhead, to me, from all I have seen, the percentage is a little balanced. It's not so much on the high side, especially if you look at all the issues that must be addressed for this city to be working very well for us. So I think if we want to see clean streets, right now we know some of the streets are filthy, and of course this is where these costs are being offset. And I want to say that the committee has done some very good job, but that does not mean at any rate both the capital, personnel and others, they cannot do better. So I want to urge the committee in the next year's budget to find a way of enhancing the performance. Right now the performance they've reported is about 61%. We want to see the performance getting to much more higher percentage. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Last, Senator.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues. Ahmed Lawan, Yobe North. Mr. Chairman, for years we have been passing FCT budgets, and particularly the water supply aspect, and this is my concern. It is very important that we do everything we can to make sure that we provide potable water supply to cover the FCT. Most residents, when they build houses, they also have to drill boreholes. That is not good for the water resources in this environment. I think we can do a lot of service to the FCT and the people if government, the FCT, can provide the water needs of the FCT residents. So if we are not able to achieve it this year, and it appears that it may not be possible, let's look at what happens next year, so that when residents build houses, they should not need to drill boreholes. Because when you drill boreholes all over the place, what you do is you mismanage the water. The chairman and the committee members, the 25 of them, 24. Okay, that's not my concern at the moment. I think it's a good number for them to work with. And let's see if it is possible for us to address the water needs of the FCT. Thank you very much. I congratulate the committee.
The Civil Center, let's always go by the votes and proceedings. The votes and proceedings knows how many members we have in the FCT, and it's very clear that we don't have 20-something votes and proceedings. I think if there are no other comments, can we go to send up? You want to? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Mr. President, sir, I want to comment on the issue of the apportionment of the budget into the three segments of overhead cost, the personal emoluments, and the capital. There is a little bit of from the main budget that was presented, which had a ratio of 30 to 70. This one has a ratio of 36 to 64 for the current and the capital respectively. But most importantly, what I want to comment on is the issue of completion of infrastructural facilities, this for engineering services. There are districts which for long have their infrastructural facilities not completed. So I would advise that the committee should focus its attention maybe in the next budget period, to consider Kado, Gwarimpa 1, and Katampe Extension. These districts actually are yet to have their infrastructural facilities completed. So I advise that the committee's attention should be drawn to them. But on the overall, I commend the report of the committee, and I support that the report be adopted and accepted. Thank you, Excellency.
Distinguished colleagues, we will go to clause by clause. Start with schedule part A. I'll put the question for each of the subheads there. The Federal Capital 1, Federal Capital Territory Administrations to stand part of the schedule ACI. Those against say nay. There is a protocol department. Protocol department subtotal 400 and let me take the first one again. Federal Capital Territory Administration subtotal 5,854,357 should stand part of the schedule ACI. Say 5 billion. Oh, okay. All right, thank you. Yeah, I'll take that again. Schedule A, subtotal Federal Capital Administration, Federal Capital Territory Administration, subtotal 4,900,854,357 should stand part of the schedule. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Protocol Department subtotal 411,514,458 stand part of the schedule. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Security Services Department subtotal 81,163,045 naira to stand part of the schedule. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Treasury subtotal 2,559,661,587 naira to stand part of the schedule. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Department of Economic Planning subtotal 276,888,370 naira stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Establishment and Training Department subtotal 924,063,130. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Audit Department subtotal 468,103,211 to stand part of the schedule. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Department of Monitoring and Inspection subtotal 232,016,909 to stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Land Administration Department subtotal 669,341,195 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Procurement Department subtotal 162,122,707 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Directorate of Muslim Pilgrims Affairs subtotal 585,154,942. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Directorate of Christian Pilgrims Affairs subtotal 205,258,936 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Pension Department, subtotal 4,865,812,892 to stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Archives and Historical Bureau, subtotal 164,901,463 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Urban and Regional Planning Tribunal, subtotal 281,477,311 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Department of Outdoor Advertisement and Synergy, those in favor, the subtotal 173,566,210. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Department of Information and Communication, subtotal 239,132,382 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCD Administration, subtotal 75,119,121 to stand part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Finance and Administration, subtotal 799,589,777. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Engineering Services, subtotal 578,774,199. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Public Building, subtotal 450,365,073. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Resettlement and Compensation Department, subtotal 166,664,363 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Urban and Regional Planning, subtotal 189,192,756. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Survey and Mapping, subtotal 128,647,112 naira stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Mass Housing Department, subtotal 55,651,320 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCD Procurement Department, subtotal 104,398,921 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCD Internal Audit, subtotal 30,713,274 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Public Relations, subtotal 55,317,702 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Engineering Design, subtotal 72,025,904. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Legal Secretary, subtotal 818,054,160. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Area Council Secretariat, subtotal 2,824,236,802. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Council of Graded Chiefs, subtotal 109,285,471. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. ACSS Inspectorate Planning and Monitoring, subtotal 100,525,271. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. ACSS Chieftaincy and Community Development, subtotal 50,650,757 stands part of the schedule. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. ACSS Primary Healthcare Department, subtotal 73,087,419 naira. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. ACSS Planning, Research and Statistics, subtotal 62,038,108 naira. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Area Council Service Commission, subtotal 212,762,205. Those in favor of that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Area Council Staff Pension Board, subtotal 325,234,094 naira stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Office of the Auditor General for FCT Area Council, subtotal 359,964,932. Those in favor of that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Transport Secretariat, subtotal 174,494,494,429. Those in favor of that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Road Traffic Services, subtotal 2,854,396,340. Those in favor that that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Bus Rapid Transit and Transport Regulations, subtotal 64,508,686. Those in favor that that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Department of Public Transportation, subtotal 102,722,054 naira. Those in favor of that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. I don't know where this energy is coming from. The energy is up there. But Department of Transportation, subtotal 100,767,169. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Education Secretariat, subtotal 373,267,210. Those in favor that that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Agency for Mass Education, subtotal 1,019,466,212 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Education Resource Center, subtotal 692,014,167. Those in favor of that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Universal Basic Education, subtotal 11,678,527,550 naira. Those in favor of that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Secondary Education Board, subtotal 8,950,097,253. Those in favor of that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCC College of Education, subtotal 1,472,703,193. Those in favor of that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Agency for Science and Technology, 1,238,341,636 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Scholarship Board, subtotal 577,843,319 stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Department of Quality Assurance, subtotal 616,531,410 stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Department of Higher Education, subtotal 135,058,240 naira stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Department of Policy, Planning and Research and Statistics, subtotal 170,653,606 naira stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Health and Human Services Secretariat, subtotal 2,078,474,454 naira stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. School. Point of order, leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In view of the fact that we were supposed to sit to 2 o'clock and we have still work in progress, I move that we suspend the relevant sections of our order rules in order to sit beyond 2 p.m. I so move.
Distinguished colleagues, Your Excellency, I second the motion that we extend our time of sitting beyond 2 p.m. I so second.
Those colleagues in favor that we extend time of sitting beyond 2 p.m. say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Back to Schedule A. School of Nursing and Midwifery subtotal 528,730,423. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Public Health Department subtotal 839,261,573 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Department of Pharmacy subtotal 236,611,908 naira. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Medical Diagnostic Department subtotal 176,509,362 naira stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Health Management Board subtotal 10,580,834,211 naira stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Primary Healthcare Development Board subtotal 1,128,547,053 naira stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Agriculture and Rural Development Secretariat subtotal 872,306,895 naira stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Agri Development Project subtotal 433,025,128. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Department of Agric subtotal 470,118,046 naira stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Social Development Secretariat subtotal of 254,167,390 naira. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Welfare Departments subtotal 256,534,26 naira. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Sports Department subtotal 231,577,341. That stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Tourism Department subtotal 167,164,402 naira stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Gender Development Department 161,445,285 naira. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Arts and Culture subtotal 137,660 naira 167. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Youth Department subtotal 62,703,620 naira. Those in favor that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Abuja Metropolitan Management Council subtotal 352,115,024 naira stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Parks and Recreation subtotal 512,043,299 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Facilities Maintenance and Management subtotal 1,699,893,038 naira stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Urban Affairs subtotal 69,277,575 stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Development Control Department, subtotal 675,704,060 naira. Those in favor of that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Water Board, subtotal 1,938,550,288 naira. Stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Abuja Environmental Protection Board, subtotal 4,441,689,812. Those in favor of that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Abuja Geographic Information System, subtotal 577,708,512. Those in favor of that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Satellite Town Development Agency, subtotal 1,565,402,238. Those in favor of that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Abuja Infrastructure Investment Center, subtotal 158,782,351. Those in favor of that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. FCT Emergency Management Agency, subtotal 238,790,523. Those in favor of that stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Department of Fire Service, subtotal 958,585,819. Stands part of the schedule. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Department of Disaster Forecasting, Response and Mitigation, subtotal 124,753,717. Those in favor of that stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Department of Relief and Rehabilitation, subtotal 158,967,052 naira. Those in favor of that stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that total recurrent 87,370,541,184 stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Schedule B, capital expenditure. 1. Federal Capital Territory Administration. 2. Protocol Department. 3. Security Services Department. 4. FCT Treasury. 5. Department of Economic Planning. 6. FCT Establishment and Training Department. 7. FCT Audit Department. 8. Department of Monitoring and Inspection. 9. Land Administration Department. 10. FCT Procurement Department. 11. FCT Directorate of Muslim Pilgrim Affairs. 12. FCT Director of Christian Pilgrim Affairs. 13. FCT Pension Department. 14. FCT Archives and Historical Bureau. 15. FCT Urban and Regional Planning Tribunal. 16. Department of Outdoor Advertisement. Signage. 17. Department of Information and Communication. 18. FCD Administration. 19. Finance and Administration. 20. Engineering Services. 21. Public Buildings. 22. Resettlement and Compensation Department. 23. Urban and Regional Planning. 24. Survey and Mapping. 25. Mass Housing Department. 26. FCDA Procurement Department. 27. General Audit. 28. Public Relations. 29. Engineering Design. 30. FCT Legal Secretariat. 31. Area Council Secretariat. 32. Council of Greater Chiefs. 33. ACSS Inspectorate Planning and Monitoring. 34. ACS Chieftaincy and Community Development. 35. ACS Primary Healthcare Department. 36. ACS Planning, Research and Statistics. 37. Area Council Service Commission. 38. FCT Area Council Staff Pension Board. 39. Office of the Judge General for FCT Area Councils. 40. Transport Secretariat. 41. Road Traffic Services. 42. Bus Rapid Transit and Transport Regulations. 43. Department of Traffic Management. 44. Department of Transport. 45. Educational Secretariat. 46. Agency for Mass Education. 47. FCT Education Resource Center. 48. FCT Universal Basic Education. 49 FCT Secondary Education Board, 50 FCT College of Education Zuba, 51 FCT Agency for Science and Technology, 52 FCT Scholarship Board, 53 Department of Policy Implementation, 54 Department of Higher Education, 55 Department of Policy Planning and Research and Statistics, 56 HHS Secretariat, 57 School of Nursing and Midwifery, 58 Public Health Department, 59 Health Planning and Research and Statistics, 60 Department of Pharmacy, 61 FCT Medical and Diagnostics, 62 Health Management Board, 63 Primary Healthcare Development Board, 64 Agri and Rural Development Secretariat, 65 FCT Agri Development Project, 66 Department of Agri, 67 Social Development Secretariat, 68 Welfare Department, 69 Sports Department, 70 Tourism Department, 71 Gender Development Department, 72 Arts and Culture, 73 Youth Department, 74 Abuja Metropolitan Management Council, 75 Parks and Recreation, 76 Facilities Maintenance and Management, 77 FCT Urban Affairs, 78 Development Control Department, 79 FCT Water Board, 80 Abuja Environmental Protection Board, 81 Abuja Geographic Information Systems, 82 Satellite Town Development Agency, 83 Abuja Infrastructure Investment Center, 84 FCT Emergency Management Agency, 85 Department of Fire Services, 86 Department of Disaster Forecasting Response and Mitigation, 87 Department of Relief and Rehabilitation, but there's one item there. Total capital 154 billion 84 million 744,288. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Grand total recurrent and capital 241 billion 455,285,471. Those in favor that this stands part of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Page 2. Clauses. Clause 1. The Director of Treasury of the Federal Capital Administration shall, when authorized to do supervision signed by the Minister of Federal Capital Territory Administration with responsibility to pay out of the Federal Capital Territory Administration Statutory Revenue Fund or the Federal Capital Territory Administration during the financial year 2016, the sum specified by the laws not exceeding in the aggregate 241,455,285,471 naira only. Those in favor of that clause 1 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 2. All amounts appropriated under this bill shall be made from the Federal Capital Territory Administration Statutory Revenue Fund only for purposes specified in the schedule to this bill. Those in favor of that clause 2 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Clause 3. Those in favor of that clause 3 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. Ayes have it. Clause 4 on page 3. Those in favor of that clause 4 stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay.
Mr. Chairman and Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I move that the bill be read the third time. I so move.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the bill be read for the third time. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that